Hey everybody, here we are with I think our 11th or 10th draft analysis here. But the person we're going to be working on today is Blade Skylight. Not him specifically, we're going to be working on his team, analyzing it and going over um, what we think is good and what things he could improve on his team. So, um, starting off with his team is a little bit obscure, but Blade's been making it work. So there's a lot of things going for it that I think are very threatening. So we'll go over those in the offense and defense. I think there's a couple mons that are just really hard to deal with. But starting off, I scored his team overall a 35. So 35, like I told you guys, is like an average score. Usually when you start going below the 35, in my opinion, is when you start to there's some pretty big holes in the team. Some like really exploitable ones, right? So starting with the offense though, I scored his offense a 7. So his offense is a little bit clunky, but I mean, he's got some things going for it. He's got webs, so he can kind of run a hyper offense, even though his team isn't like really hyper offensive. It is offensive, but it's not hyper offensive. So I'm not sure how I feel about the webs too much. But he's made them work really well. It makes Inteleon outspeed basically everything, since Inteleon's base speed is 120. So with screens, I think is what he's been using a lot on Orbital right now. Orbital's able to do the screens and then U-turn, pass on to somebody else. Usually into the Slowbro. So he's got lots of setup. I think the screens are a lot better from Orbital than the webs are, and I think he's realized that. Those screens help the Inteleon set up Focus Energy, the Slowbro set up Iron Defense or Nasty Plot. It can help the Blastoise set up Shell Smash. I think Decidueye gets both Nasty Plot and Swords Dance, so it makes it very, very threatening. And then Duraludon can just fire off attacks since he's got pretty high special attack as well. So with that said, though, the offensive Pokemon we're going to be getting into, I mean, is almost his entire team, really. The ones that I'm not going to mention for offensive is Dracloak, just because like it's not fully evolved. It's just not going to hit very hard. And then Toxapex is the other one I won't mention for offensive, since they're generally going to be used as utility or defensive Pokemon. Sandaconda as well, since he has Iron Defense and Body Press out of Slowbro if he wants it, and Slowbro will be a better one since he can't be toxic. And Sandaconda usually being used for that glare to help Blade's mediocre speed tier out a little bit. So, but starting off, we have Inteleon. Inteleon is generally going to be used as his revenge killer or his focus energy user. I do think the screens will be a lot better for somebody like Slowbro or Blastoise or even Shell Smash Turtonator or anything like that. So Inteleon really not having a whole lot of versatility to it. I mean, I did mention this in NCPL's draft. It can be used as a physical offensive Pokemon since it does get Swords Dance. It gets interesting things like Fell Stinger. But really where it shines is running those special attacks, since it's got Hydro Pump or Surf, Ice Beam, Mud Shot, Shadow Ball. Snipe Shot is another one that it uses since its ability is Sniper. Scald is interesting, and then of course U-turn, which really helps it out. Comes in, it can do some chip damage. But some interesting utility options that it has is Haze. Where's the other one here? Ice Shard. So I thought that one was really interesting. His attack is 85, so it's not terrible. For a Mon that will have a ×4 ice weakness, like a ground flying or ground dragon, the Ice Shard might actually come in handy, considering the dragon types that are ×4 in this draft tend to be the setup Pokemon, like Dragonite, Garchomp, Mega Garchomp. Those guys really like to set up with those Pokemon, so the Ice Shard might be useful, especially if he's already got a Scale Shot in or a Dragon Dance, right? But that's really all Inteleon's going to be doing. Probably come out as a lead, out here and there to do some damage or revenge kill, right? And then we got Slowbro G. So Slowbro G, a Pokemon that I think is really underutilized, and what's the word? People don't think it's as good as it is. Or, how do I say this? It's better than people think, is what I think, in my opinion. I mean, Regenerator, great ability. Quick Draw, in my opinion, completely fucking broken. You get a nasty plot in on a Pokemon that's got defensive stats like this, and then it can go first. It's got a 30% chance to go first every single time. In my opinion, that's ridiculous. I think that's just crazy. But Slowbro G, just like the other Slowbros, it's got really good coverage. It's got Scald. It's got setup with Calm Mind. It's got Belly Drum. Like I said, you guys, Belly Drum Drain Punch on these types of Pokemon, a very, very interesting and scary set to come up against, especially with Quick Draw. Blade, if you're watching this, man, Quick Draw, Belly Drum Drain Punch would be absolutely crazy. Since you've been using screens a whole lot anyways, as it is, I think this would be an absolutely wild set. It could totally get you a 6-0, get you a win. I mean, like, there isn't a lot of unaware users. I think there's 2 in this entire draft. So I think that would be a set to really try and run. But anyways, as far as its coverage go, Drain Punch, Earthquake, Expanding Force, Fire Blast, or Flamethrower. You got the Future Sight, you got Hydro Pump, you got Ice Beam, you got the Iron Defense Body Press that I told you about. Can set up with Nasty Plot instead of Calm Mind if it wants. It's got Poison Jab, but I believe the attack is, yeah, Shell Sidearm. So the same as Photon Geyser, except Photon Geyser is 100 base power, Shell Sidearm is 90. The PP is kind of low on it, but that's not too bad. The way that it works is, one, it's physical contact. Yeah, it's physical contact even if, physical contact if it would be stronger. So yeah, it's a special attack, but if it's gonna hit their physical defense harder, it'll turn to a physical attack. Basically the exact, well, not basically, it is the exact same as Photon Geyser on Necrozma. So not only that, it's got Psyshock and Psykick. It's got Slack Off for reliable recovery. You can't poison it, which is crazy. It's got Trick, so you could run a Specs Trick set. That would be pretty wild with Quick Draw and Shell Sidearm. That would be really hard to break. Whirlpool would be kind of an interesting set. Trap it in, Iron Defense, Body Press, or Whirlpool. Do some other weird shit like, I don't know, Toxic. It doesn't even learn Toxic? Wow, that's really crazy. It doesn't learn Toxic. Really interesting. But yeah, anyways, lots you can do with Slowbro G. I think this was a Pokemon that's definitely going to move up in the tiers when we do our tier list and go over it as a team together. But yeah, I think this is definitely one of his best, if not his best pick on his team. Sure, you got the Blastoise sitting there. Surprisingly, he hasn't used it very much. But the versatility out of Slowbro G, I think, is absolutely incredible, and it's so good for his team. It helps Blade be a little bit more unpredictable, so more unpredictable than he already is. And then we have Magmortar here. Magmortar, I think, is another Pokemon in the place that I participate in the most. Magmortar is quite low on the tier, but I think Magmortar actually has a lot of usefulness to it. It's got Fire Blast, it's got Thunderbolt, it's got Scorching Sands, it's got Focus Blast, and then it's got good utility options in Taunt, Toxic, Teleport. I believe it can be a physical set as well. Yeah, base 95, physical attack, base 125, special attack. So you could run a physical set with like Cross Chop, Earthquake, Flare Blitz, Iron Tail. It even learns Mach Punch. That's crazy. So, but the other coverage that it has is Mystical Fire, Psychic, Rock Slide, Rock Tomb. Seismic Toss is really nice from it as well. What else do we have? Will-O-Wisp. It does have Belly Drum. It also has Clear Smog, which is really nice. And Curse would be really interesting. Curse with Curse would be a really interesting set with it though. So, but yeah, that's really what Magmortar has. I haven't seen too much from Blade, I don't think. But I think it is a very good mon. Base 83 speed, base 125 special attack, 95 SPDF, 95 attack, 75 HP, and then 67 defense. not terrible, but I definitely think it's a very cheap, good mod. So next on the offensive list here, we have Blastoise. You guys all know Blastoise. We don't need to go too far into Blastoise here, but the Shell Smash, just absolutely crazy on a bulky Pokemon like this. Shell Smash, Mental Herb, you're probably firing off 2 attacks, maybe KOing 2 Pokemon, potentially, if the circumstance is right, sweeping an entire team. So you have Shell Smash, Dark Pulse, Surf, Ice Beam, Aura Sphere. Then the hidden powers are available in our draft as well. You have Dragon Pulse. What else do we got here? Yeah, I mean, that's really what you're going to see from it. I mean, there's some utility options in Rapid Spin, Dragon Tail, which I think are very useful in the draft, but I think he's got other Pokemon to do that for him anyway. I think Shell Smash is definitely going to be the best set for Blastoise here. Something that I would really like to see get used more from Pokemon that do use it or have it is Mirror Coat. Mirror Coat and Counter, I think, are very interesting moves that could come in really big like help. I mean, if you know somebody's got a Pokemon that's going to be brought just specifically for that Pokemon, you can EV it so that it takes the 1 attack, and then you can slam it back with a Mirror Coat or a Counter. And I mean, basically you put that Pokemon out of commission. I don't think you would be able to put yours out of commission if you EV'd it correctly. That would be something I'd like to see more in both draft groups that I participate in. So Sandaconda as the offensive stuff, it's really you know, it's offensive utility, it's Glare, it's Earthquake, you know, it's got Shed Skin, Rest, so it's like kind of like an annoying bruiser. But it does have Coil as well, Coil and Iron Defense, so you could see Iron Defense Body Press, Coil Body Press, Earthquake, things like that. So I think that would be an interesting set, but generally this Pokemon, it's got Rocks, it's got Glare, that's what's going to be used for, to help out Inteleon, get those cleanup kills, or Slowbro Sweep, or Blastoise Sweep, or whoever his sweeper is going to be in the match. And then we have Octillery here. So I drafted Octillery in this draft group that I played in before, and it's not terrible. It's not like the greatest Pokemon. Sniper, I mean, it's an okay ability, not the greatest. Suction Cups, it's okay, not the greatest. Moody, banned. So, but it's got really good coverage. It's got Energy Ball, it's got Surf, it's got Gunk Shot, it's got Fire Blast, it's got Haze, it's got Ice Beam. What else we got here? Yeah, I mean, what doesn't that cover, right? Fire Blast, Energy Ball, Surf, and Ice Beam. I mean, you can and Gunk Shot. I mean, you could basically cover anything with that. And it's got base 105 in both attacks, attack and special attack. So, and then base 75 stats all the way around, besides speed, which is base 45. So something I'd like to note is, I believe Orbeetle gets Trick Room. Let's double check that. Orbeetle does get Trick Room. So Orbeetle could set up Trick Room and then U-turn since it's fast, and it would go second. And you could get it something like Octillery with base 45 speed, or Turtonator, which is really slow as well, or the Slowbro G and set up a Trick Room team. So that's an interesting option for Blade as well, that I think he could utilize that hopefully before the end of the season, which is, he's only got 2 more games left, I believe. So but yeah, the Octillery, that's kind of what we got going for the Octillery here. Briefly mentioning stuff from the Orbeetle, we're going to move on to Orbeetle right now. Orbeetle's offensive capability, I mean, this Pokemon is going to be its utility, a support Pokemon for this team. The Reflect, the Light Screen, the U-turn, the Sticky Webs, that's generally what it's going to be used for. I hope I'd see some Trick Room from this as well. But I mean, it's got things like Psychic, it's got decent attack, or special attack at 80, but nothing really too offensive from this Pokemon. And then Turtonator, we have Dragon Fire type, so you're going to see Draco Meteor's Fire Blasts. Does have Shell Smash as well, but I think this Pokemon would be better behind like a Trick Room with, like, you know, even then, it doesn't even have that strong of special attack, so it's really not going to be hitting that hard. I think this is definitely the worst pick on his team. Even Dracloak, I think, has more utility than Turtonator. I mean, you could do a Cursed Turtonator set, which would be interesting since Fire Dragon isn't terrible typing. It has really high base defense, so that might be something. You got Body Press to help with the Curse. You could also run Bulk Up instead since he's really slow anyways. The yeah, Curse Dragon Tail, Bulk Up Dragon Tail, Earthquake, I don't know. Heat Crash maybe? Heavy Slam? I guess depending on the coverage. But the Curse set I think actually could be pretty useful on a Trick Room team. So I'll retract that a little bit, but I definitely think this is not his greatest pick. He definitely could have got something a little bit better to either help his speed tier out or help a Trick Room set or have another setup sweep or something like that. As far as that goes, we're going to move on to Decidueye, who I think is really good. Long Reach is a pretty good ability that's overlooked a lot. It doesn't make contact with the target, which is nice, so it doesn't have to worry about, you know, hitting Moltres or hitting Zapdos and getting static or Flame Body. Another thing that's good about this Pokemon, base 107 attack, base 100 special attack, so it can be physical or special. You got Leaf Storm, Shadow Ball, Giga Drain. What else do we got? On the physical side, you have Spirit Shackle, which I believe traps opponent. Yeah, traps opponent. Poltergeist, the new move. I do believe Spirit Shackle might be a little bit better just because it traps the opponent. You got Leaf Blade, Shadow Sneak. I'd really like to see Blade utilize this more as a trapping set. Like I said in most of my reviews here, a lot of these teams don't utilize trapping sets, and I think trapping sets are actually really underutilized in draft and could be really good. But you have Curse, Dual Wing Beat. He does have Haze, which is really nice. He's got Reliable Recovery and Roost. Like I said, he's got Nasty Plot as well. He's just got a ton of things at his disposal. He also can make use of Toxic Hex, which is absolutely crazy. That would be a really crazy set. He also does have Swords Dance, and he's got U-Turn. Just an overall good Pokemon. I mean, I'm surprised this isn't used a lot more in draft. It's just got so much you can do with it. With its reliable recovery, physical or special, good stabs, and then good stats all the way across the board as well. So next up we have the Dracloak. Like I mentioned, you guys, I mean, it's not going to do too much. It's got 80 attack, which is a little bit better than I expected. An Infiltrator. So I guess if you're versing a team with Screens or Aurora Veil, it could be pretty good. But this is going to be a really good utility mode Pokemon with Will-O-Wisp, T-Wave, Hex, Draco Meteor, U-Turn, things like that. You could opt to run like a spec set. I don't think it'll be very good since its special attack is only 60. I really think the utility set will be much more. It'll fire off way more damage for you. So that's what I think is going to come out. That's what I think should come out of the Dracloak. And then we have Duraludon here. We're tripling up on the dragon types here, and only 2 of them are weak to fairy, which is kind of crazy. So the Duraludon here, its abilities are kind of not the greatest for draft. It's a special attacker. It's been scarfed a lot by Blade. Draco Meteor, Flash Cannon, Thunderbolt. It does have access to rocks as well, which I totally forgot about in my analysis for hazards there. Maybe that could have went up to an 8, since that was one of my things. Because he's only got one rocker. That's what I thought anyways. Not a lot from Duraludon here. I mean, it does have Swords Dance, but just a really poor move pool in my opinion. I mean, we got Hidden Power to help it out a little bit here, but you're generally going to see Scarf, Draco Meteor, Flash Cannon, Thunderbolt, and maybe a Hidden Power to cover. It does have Dark Pulse as well, but right, so although with that said, I do think this is a Pokemon that is worth its low value, but I also think it's actually really it's a pretty decent Pokemon. So its typing is good. It can come in on physical attacks a lot. It's base 85 speed, 115 defense, 120 special attack, 70 HP. So it can come in on a lot of physical things. It does resist quite a bit. Bug, Electric, Flying, Normal, Psychic, Rock, Steel, Water, which is awesome, and it's immune to grass and strongly resists grass and immune to poison. So it's pretty good typing. But yeah, that's the offense. I think 7 is fair. I think his offense is a little bit clunky. It doesn't really pair together too well that I've seen anyways, that I can see. I think the Trick Room would be really interesting to run, and then have Inteleon in the back as like a cleaner after Trick Room's done. I think that would be interesting. I think that might stick his team a little bit better together. But moving on to the defense here, we scored a 7. So his defense compiled of, you know, Sandaconda, Toxapex, Decidueye. I think those are going to be his main defensive Pokemon, since Decidueye's got Defog. Blastoise does have the rapid spin, but generally I think the defog is going to be better. I think Turtonator also gets rapid spin. Yeah. Turtonator also does. But Toxapex, yeah. I mean, Toxapex having Haze, Knockoff, Scald, Toxic Spikes, reliable recovery and recover. Being Poison type, you can't Toxic. Really, really annoying to deal with. If you don't have a strong Ground type or a strong Psychic or a strong Electric type, I mean, this Mon can just, 1v6 the entire team if it wants to, right? So, a really good support Pokemon, especially with Haze. It makes sure that Pokemon don't get set up too crazy. But yeah, very much supported by his team as well. So, and then Sandaconda here, like we mentioned, you guys, it's got a lot of utility to it. It's got Glare, it's got Stealth Rocks. The one thing that I would say about Sandaconda that would make him so much better is if he had Dragon Tail, or if he had Roar or something like that, or Whirlwind. But he doesn't have any of those, and it's just, in my opinion, it takes down his utility so much. Yeah, I don't know. That's what I feel about it. But anyways, its ability Shed Skin allows it to stay alive for quite a long time if you're getting the luck with that. So, but Glare being the most important part of this, obviously not when Trick Room is up. If Blade's running more of an offensive team without Trick Room, then the Glare is really great, helping Blastoise make Mortar, and potentially Decidueye and Duraludon outspeed certain Pokemon, right? So Glare, as you guys know, able to hit Electric types and Ground types. I know for sure it does Ground types. I'm actually not 100% sure on Electric types. So whoever's watching, if you're watching, can you let me know if Glare actually affects Electric types? Because I haven't seen that actually happen yet, so I'm not 100% sure. But the Ground types I know for sure Glare will hit. So, but yeah, the defense being a 7, I mean, it's breakable is how I would say it. So it's not unbreakable. Once we start getting to the 8.5s and the 9s, then it's like, okay, if you don't have this Pokemon, it's like you're in deep trouble. I mean, Toxapex is kind of that type of Pokemon, but it's the only one on his team like that. So I mean, he doesn't even have a Dark type. So if he had a Dark type, a Dark defensive type, I think that might be good. It would really help keep Toxapex alive a lot more. He's got Decidueye for the Ground types. He also got Decidueye for the Electric type attacks. So I guess Decidueye kind of works well with it. But I still feel like Toxapex is the really only strong defensive Pokemon from the team here that is just like glue for the team. So and then speed we have at 7, so he's got a lot of ways to boost his speed, but his speed is kind of mediocre with Inteleon and Duraludon and Orbeetle leading the pack here. Other than that, he's got Trick Room, which I think, like I said, is actually something that might be very good for his team, since Slowbro could really take advantage of it. Turtonator, of course, and then Octillery as well. But like I said, he's got Sticky Webs as well, so he can control the speed really well. Maybe his speed could have been a little bit better in the score here, since he's got decent speed control. But I haven't seen him use Trick Room yet. If he was using Trick Room a lot more, maybe I could like justify putting this up more. But I haven't seen him use it. I just think that's something it's a tool that he has at his disposal if he wants to. But yeah, so the Quick Draw really helping out the speed as well. If you got something that's like, I think there was a game that just passed. It was Hassan's game. Anyways, if something's set up like really crazy, like ×4 or something like that, and you can send in Slowbro and you get the Shell Sidearm Quick Draw, I mean, stop the sweep on a 30% chance. Kind of shitty for the opponent, but great for you. I mean, you just beat out any speed tier because your ability just says you go first. Just an absolutely crazy ability. I mean, just to be able to beat out any speed tier. I actually believe I've seen this in the Trick Room. It works the opposite way. If the quick draw goes through, you go second, which is really interesting. I thought that was really weird. It's good. I'm glad that it's like that and not the other way around, because I think that would be completely busted. But yeah, anyways, For the speed, I don't think his speed is terrible. That's why it's 7. I think he's got very average, a little bit above average speed in some corners here. But his speed control is what's really important. He's got the Hex T-Wave from Dracloak, which I think is great. Sticky Web from Orbeetle. And then, the boosting options with, Blastoise, Shell Smash, Glare from Sandaconda as well. And then the Quick Draw from Slowbro G. So lots of good ways to beat out the speed. But naturally, his team is not super, super fast. Is how I would explain that. So, and then hazards here, we have 2 Rapid Spinners, which is really great. We have 2 Stealth Rock Setters, which is also great. And we also have Sticky Webs and Toxic Spikes here. So this hazard score definitely could have been at an 8. The only reason I wouldn't put it any higher than an 8 is he's only got 1 Defogger here. So if screens are coming, he doesn't have Decidueye, or Decidueye's got a bad matchup, that might be something that the opponent sees is like, oh, okay, well, Decidueye is probably not going to be brought here. I'm just going to set up screens, and then sweep, right? He does have Rapid Spin, like I said, out of Blastoise. I think it's a waste of Blastoise to run Rapid Spin out of it, since you have Toxapex as your water defensive Pokemon. You could run Turtonator, but I think Turtonator overall is just a wasted slot. With the amount of points Blade had left, he could have definitely picked a really good mid to high tier. So that's how I feel about that. But for momentum here, so his momentum kind of it goes up and down. Okay, so he's got the Shell Smash Blastoise, which I think is the most reliable. And then he's got Shell Smash Turtonator, which I don't think is work out too well, since the special attack's kind of low as it is. He doesn't have like the highest def, his HP is kind of low, he doesn't have really good speed, so I don't know how the Shell Smash would work that well. But you also have the Slowbro G, you also have Iron Defense or Coil Sandaconda, and Iron Defense Orbeetle, you have Swords Dance and Nasty Plot Decidueye. All of those things can quickly get out of hand, more so the Blastoise and the Slowbro here. Those 2 Pokemon behind screens, since Blade's been bringing a lot of screens lately, those things can go way out of control very fast. You can't Toxic the Slowbro. Blastoise is strong enough to eat a couple, or bulky enough to eat a couple hits here. The momentum from his team is more from the Snowball, because he's got U-Turn and Orbeetle, Decidueye, Dracloak, and Orbeetle. But the thing is Orbeetle, Decidueye, and Dracloak all weak to knock off. Bringing all 3 of those, you're asking to get knocked off or hit by really strong dark types or ghost type attacks. And then on top of it, no normal type Pokemon to immune them, right? So the momentum definitely coming from his setup sweepers here. Despite it being a 7, and despite Blastoise being probably his best setup sweeper here, I don't see him bring it. Maybe I've missed a couple of matches, but I'm pretty sure I haven't seen him Shell Smash. I don't even know if it's been more than once, or even once. We're already 8 games through. Can't recall if he's set up with Blastoise at all. I feel like I've seen it more, or it would have been on the kill leader board, or close anyways. I think he likes the Slowbro G a little bit more than the Blastoise. And if that's the case, I probably would have just traded Blastoise away. If you Slowbro is your setup guy, right? So, but yeah, overall, Blade's team of 35. I think he's got an average team. I think he's done so much better in his draft and his gameplay than he has done in the other places that I've seen him. So he's improving really, really fast. He's improving well. Hats off to Blade for that. He's still in playoff contention, which is awesome. I would love to see Blade make it into playoffs. That would be crazy. But yeah. Overall, guys, 35. I think this is an average team. There's some things that could be fixed about it. There's some things that are good about it. But yeah, we'll move on to the next one, and we'll see you guys.